South Korea's president declared his nation under martial law today.
The day, the music died.
Well, here's another country that should be none of our business. South Korea briefly declared martial law. How is that going to affect you? Let's unpack it and explain it very clearly now. South Korea, why is that our business? Let us know in the comments and chat if there is potential that martial law could be piloted in other nations in the same way as we saw internment, for example, in Australia during the pandemic era, and in the same way that we saw bank accounts being frozen in Canada, and in the same way we're now seeing escalation of free speech or anti-free speech laws in my country, the United Kingdom. Almost as if there is a concert of control being played out across the world before some event legitimizes further centralization of authority. Why does South Korea martial law matter? Let's get into it. It was a brief moment of martial law before protests, the power of the people, perhaps the only power that matters as long as it's directed by heavenly forces, took South Korea back. Let's look at this story together and learn.
We turn now to an extraordinary day of that political turmoil in South Korea, one of America's closest allies in Asia, where nearly 30,000 U.S. service members are based.
Interesting in itself, isn't it? 30,000 Americans over there in service. Why? Well, North Korea, I suppose, but keep pushing why, and you'll get to eventually some resource or semiconductor or somewhere that means your son and daughter has to be inconvenienced and maybe even killed, or an escalation of a hot war with China. I mean, like, why? Why?
South Korea's president declared his nation under martial law today, but hours after protests erupted, he was forced to lift the order.
I'm going to martial law you so hard. Oh, yeah? You want to martial law us? Oh, okay, sorry. I'm taking it back. I take it back.
Thousands of protesters poured into the streets, descending on the South Korean National Assembly after the nation's president declared martial law.
Martial law? What is it good for? Looking up South Koreans.
Soldiers entered the building shortly after President Yoon ordered military rule in order to defend the Free Republic of Korea from the threat of North Korean communist forces. He accused his opposition of sympathizing with communist North Korea. Less than 3 hours later, the South Korean parliament defied the president, voting unanimously to overturn that decree. Then President Yoon backed down. Yoon is under attack himself. His approval ratings have plummeted in recent months, and he and his wife are accused of corruption and accepting bribes.
That's not actually him and his wife. I believe those are puppets. But in a way, perhaps they're puppets too. So soon we'll hear arguments about defending democracy in South Korea and opposing the bad despots in North Korea. But the imposition of martial law is hardly democratic. What do people mean when they say democracy? Let me know in the comments and chat. Do they mean the mandated will of the people through electoral processes? Hopefully not using Dominion, everyone, and hopefully with a bit of voter ID in hand. Or do they mean a set of institutions that are controlled by global corporate interests and marshaled and managed by the deep state? Let me know.
Martial law bans protests and demonstrations, prohibits any political activities, and takes control of all media. South Korea is a vital regional ally of the United States, with more than 28,500 U.S. troops stationed at bases throughout the country. The U.S. has maintained a large military presence since 1953, defending South Korea and serving as a deterrent to its hostile neighbor, North Korea.
We're defending you, and we're serving as a deterrent to your hostile neighbor. And what that is imperialism and colonialism that you are funding.
If we've got Army vehicles on the streets, it's going to affect U.S. forces.
You want to make sure that you're paying attention, that you're checking in with your unit, making sure that there's accountability, but I'm not aware at this point of any significant impact.
Also, have you passed an audit lately? No, we don't actually like being audited very much. Could you stop doing it?
The threat of North Korea looms.
What do you think the North Koreans are thinking?
I'm inclined to believe that this is going to play out so well from North Korea's perspective. They have a lot of incentive not to throw fuel on the fire.
South Koreans are relieved after the about face, but they face an uncertain future, while the U.S. needs a stable military partner. It took the Pentagon by surprise, too, today, Nora, although defense officials tell us that the U.S. and South Korean militaries were in constant contact throughout the day, and there's nothing to suggest the North Koreans changed their military posture to exploit the situation.
Okay, so what does this mean for us? President Yoon's decree imposing martial law in South Korea bans all political activities, including all political parties, rallies, and even the National Assembly itself. Fake news is banned and the military will control the media, all to preserve liberal democracy. Remember, of course, that in Ukraine, we are fighting to preserve democracy in a country where the media is centrally controlled and where there are no elections and where journalists often die in prison if they don't report correctly. So let me know in the comments and chat, does democracy mean whatever they want it to mean? In the same way that you can have good billionaires, Bill Gates, good billionaire, bad billionaires, Elon Musk, bad billionaire, let me know.
I think just in and of itself, in the context of South Korean history, is important. Obviously, we around the table should talk about why this should be an important thing for Americans to pay attention to.
Well, that's what I want to...
Particularly given that Donald Trump is about to be president in a number of weeks, somebody who has said he wants to use the military to go after his own enemies.
This is actually Trump's fault, future Trump. I believe that Trump is kind of like a presidential Marty McFly, using a DeLorean made out of the MAGA movement to go into the future and cause martial law to be implemented in South Korea. So it's kind of his fault. McFly! McFly!
A long, long time ago.
Now, this is the kind of leadership we all require. When diplomacy can be combined with karaoke, you know that world peace is just around the corner. Here's President Yoon singing American Pie. Try to keep yourself together.
I can still remember how that music used to make me smile. And I really felt my chance that I could make those people dance. Maybe they'd be happy for a while. February made me shiver, with a paper I deliver. Bad news on the doorstep. I couldn't have one more step. I can't remember if I tried when I read about his willow bride. Something touched me deep inside. The day the music died.
So bye-bye democracy, we've got martial law on the border, you see. And North Korea will agree with me that we can stoke tensions with China. Yes, we should stoke tensions with China. It's Donald Trump's fault. He's bouncing around through time. It's like the movie Interstellar. He's plucking on a harp made out of Don McLean melodies. Why won't somebody please ban Donald Trump from standing in elections?
The war against free speech is in full swing. We are the vanguard, bravely fighting back. Rumble's the home of this channel, Stay Free, and a leader in defending the fundamental human right of free speech. They've joined X to sue a cartel of advertisers and ad agencies who conspired to block ad revenue from going to the platforms. Recently, they've launched Rumble Premium. This, I think, is going to be a game changer for all of us. It's an ad-free viewing experience with great perks for viewers and creators. Rumble Premium will give you the ability to dive into your favorite content on your mobile or desktop or smart TV and savor every uninterrupted second of my content. Why don't you upgrade to Rumble Premium today? Support my free speech and the free speech of other content creators on this platform. Please go to Rumble now, rumble.com/premium. And if you use the code BRAND, you'll save $10 and Rumble will be aware that our stream is creating great converts. So that's rumble.com/premium and do use the code BRAND to save $10. Anyway, there's a link there at the bottom of the screen now. We're posting it in the chat. Join up.
Now let's see how this actually is being utilized. Both Biden and Yoon have worked, Yoon, the president of South Korea, they have worked to stoke tensions with North Korea and China. Here's a little bit of information on that to help you understand what martial law being deployed in South Korea might actually be about. President Biden has been a strong backer of Yoon. Why wouldn't he be? He needs backing. He needs someone to do the harmonies in that magnificent version of American Pie, and helped advance his agenda of taking a harder line towards North Korea, which has significantly raised tensions on the Korean Peninsula. Together, Biden and Yoon have restarted major war games on the Korean Peninsula, and the US has deployed significant firepower to South Korea, locking into a cycle of tit-for-tat escalations with North Korea. That's what you want in international diplomacy, a tit and some tat. Last year, in a major provocation, Biden sent a US nuclear-armed submarine. He loves doing that, doesn't he? Like, if ever you give a member of the Biden family a job, make sure you give them a good severance package, otherwise they will start a nuclear war on the way out the door. A few months before the deployment, Biden hosted Yoon at the White House, and the two leaders announced steps to increase nuclear cooperation meant to give Seoul a role in coordinating the use of US nuclear weapons in the event of a conflict with Pyongyang. The US also sees South Korea as an ally against China and has been working to repair relations between Seoul and Tokyo as part of Washington's efforts at alliance building in the region, which is key to the overall US strategy against China in the Asia Pacific. So what is this story about actually? It seems that in an attempt to maintain domestic control of South Korea, we are led to understand and granted a rare glimpse into the way that geopolitics actually works. In so much as, in the same way that long-range missiles are being used inside Russia, South Korea are being prepared and groomed as another proxy in the event of escalations of tension between China and the US in the South Sea region. What an extraordinary story. And thank God it can all be summarized by one of America's great bards and balladeers, Don McLean himself.
The day, the music died.
And isn't it interesting that the whole thing is actually Donald Trump's fault? Ah, Trump, you time-traveling despot, you populist right-wing Adolf Hitler Nazi. What? He won the election. I'm on my way to Mar-a-Lago. Perhaps he'll play a quick round of golf with me. No? How about a 9? Oh, Donald. But that's just what I think, if indeed those are thoughts. Let me know in the comments and chat what you think.
Stream. Click the link right here to watch the next video if you want to, or become a member of a growing movement. Download the Rumble app and you'll be informed every time we make a new piece of content. Stay free.